Do your brainstorms feel more like a brain hurricane? Scribbles everywhere, random ideas, but no actual writing happening. We are going to take your brainstorm from chaotic to productive so you can actually get to writing your book. Brainstorming can feel overwhelming. Everything seems big and important, and you don't want to pick the wrong idea, but you also don't want to overlook a gem. Today, I'm going to give y'all a simple system to sort your ideas, pick the strongest ones, and feel the clarity and confidence you need to move into the writing process. Take a deep breath. You've made it to the writing woods. There is no stress, no pressure. We are here for the love of writing. If you're looking for other folks who are building their craft, check out the Writing Woods community. It is completely free and it has tools to help you work towards your writing goals in a positive, sustainable way. So the link is down below. Recently, I had a request for a video on brainstorming and planning from someone who was feeling overwhelmed and frozen. And I have been there. It is so awful to feel all this creative energy inside of you and you just can't seem to get it on the page. When you feel stuck before you even start, it can be so frustrating. And then you start thinking, well, what's wrong with me? I must be doing something wrong, or if I could just focus, then I could get it to make sense. And you keep spinning your wheels and nothing is happening. And by the time you actually get to the writing process, you're just over it already. Let's go ahead and set the record straight. There is nothing wrong with you. Your brain is working exactly like it's supposed to. You're just working against it. Here's the issue. You are mixing divergent and convergent thinking. Divergent thinking is idea generation. It's creative. It's creating. Convergent thinking is analyzing, making decisions. And you can't do both at once, at least not effectively. So you are getting yourself overloaded at a cognitive level. And then you get overwhelmed and you double down, thinking if you just try harder, if you just focus. But when you do that, you're making it worse because you're ramping up the divergent and then you're ramping up the convergent, but you're never going to be able to do both at once. I watched a clip of Ann Manning, who teaches a creative thinking class at Harvard, and I loved the way she explained this. It was more in the context of business and business meetings, but I think it makes perfect sense for writers and any kind of creative thinkers. So here's how she explained it. I'm gonna put my coffee down for this. Hopefully my puffy doesn't make too much noise while we're doing this. So I'm gonna stay seated, but y'all can stand up and do this with me. Let's be a little silly. Let's get out of our comfort zone. So to start, take your hands and lift them up toward the sky and get a nice big stretch and raise your hands up toward the sky and open yourself up. Okay, all right. Now fold forward and stretch down. Pay attention to how you feel as you're doing this. All right, so how did you feel when you were lifted up toward the sky? Maybe a little powerful, maybe open, and then when you were bent over, stretched toward the ground, you may have felt a little closed off, hidden, or separated from the world around you. So stretching toward the sky is like divergent thinking. That is the feeling when you are open to ideas and they're flowing through you, and you are just letting the idea come. You are creating. Being stretched toward the ground is more like convergent thinking. That's when you're analyzing and sorting and deciding. But when you are looking at the ground, you're not open to new ideas and new opportunities. And when you're looking at the sky, it's going to be really hard to see your thoughts and ideas in an objective, analytical way. So they're very different. And you can't do both at once. You cannot be stretching toward the sky and toward the ground at the same time. And in that clip that I watched, she was talking about in the context of meetings when someone throws out an idea and somebody else might immediately just shoot it down and say, well, that's not gonna work because XYZ. And you get into that pattern of break and gas. And then you start anticipating the reasons why the idea is gonna be bad. And then you're not coming up with ideas after that. You're already trying to analyze before you've even formed the thought. Now that you've gotten your stretch break in, let's talk about what the heck this means for writers and a very simple system that we can follow to separate divergent and convergent thinking and make your brainstorming and planning sessions productive. Because y'all, I don't want you pulling your hair out over these brainstorming sessions. We don't do that in the Writing Woods, right? We're not stressing here. We are just focusing on fostering our creativity in a way that makes sense. Step 1. I don't know why I opened my notes for this because it's pretty simple. You are going to dump everything out. This is a brain dump in the best possible sense. This is divergent thinking. This is a stretching toward the sky, grabbing everything that we can find and funneling it down onto the page. You're not analyzing anything. You're not thinking about whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, or whether it's going to work, or whether it goes with this, or whether it's marketable. You're not worried about any of that. An idea is an idea, and it gets to go on the same page with all the other ideas. That's all we're doing at this point. You are going to create a safe environment for yourself to have ideas. So you're not going to be the mean boss looking over your shoulder saying, well, that's not going to work. At this stage, you are the intern over there who is sucking up saying, oh, that's fantastic. That's a great idea. I wish I thought of that. Because at this stage, it's all about volume. We don't care if it's good, bad, or in between. All right, so you have done your brain dump. You have a notebook or a computer full of ideas, notions, images, symbols, emotions, all the little pieces that can eventually add up to become a beautiful book. And I feel like this is the point where a lot of writers start overwhelming themselves. I know I have, because maybe I did a good job turning off that analytical part of my brain for the brain dump. But then I have a page full of thoughts and I look at it and I go, how the heck am I going to make this a book? I feel like I have a ball of yarn and I'm expecting to snap my fingers and it becomes a sweater. And then you start trying to do too much at once again, and you're combining those different cognitive modes, and then you're overwhelming yourself. You get frustrated, you get frozen. We all know what it looks like. So instead of jumping straight from you dump your ideas and then you make them a book, we're going to add some steps in between. Step number 2. We're going to go into sort mode. So we generated all these ideas and now we're going to switch on the analytical part, but we're not deciding yet. We are just sorting. We're categorizing. You have a bunch of stuff right now. This could be ideas that you've generated during one specific brainstorming session, or it could be ideas generated over a period of time. I know I always have a run-in note in my phone for projects I'm working on, just to jot down those ideas you get throughout the day. So you've got a lot of ideas, a lot of different types of ideas about a lot of different things, because a book is a big project. So before we just start looking at this list and trying to figure out where the diamond is in the rough, we're going to take a second and actually sort those ideas into groups. You could group them based on the type of idea, whether it's a plot point, a feeling, an image. You might have groups based on different characters or world building, emotions, conflicts, or stakes. You'll see the categories as you start doing this. You could do this by physically moving them down the page. If you're on the computer, you could use a highlighter and color code them. I love a good color coding system. Whatever makes sense for your brain. You could even put them on note cards and move them around your corkboard or on a whiteboard. We have so many options. Once your ideas are put into groups like this, the chaos starts becoming a pattern. That's what we're looking for here. It's not a book, it's not an outline, it's a pattern. By the end of this step, you should start feeling calmer. And if you don't, you're probably still evaluating instead of just sorting. Step 3 is where it starts getting fun. We're gonna look at these grouped ideas, these patterns that have emerged, and we're gonna find our anchor. Your story has many threads: themes, relationships, character growth, the setting, the premise, all kinds of threads. But what is the one you keep coming back to? You'll probably notice that it spans across groups. It may have been the thing you started with, but a lot of the time it's not. What is the thing that keeps pulling you back to it, that has its own gravity? What feels necessary to this story? Because one of the things that, at least for me, results in that feeling of being frozen is the fact that a lot of the choices that we make about our story relies on other aspects of the story. You probably won't be able to design the plot without fully understanding your protagonist. You may not be able to fill in certain events without knowing other events, and that can be chronological or not. And sometimes this even requires research. You may need knowledge that you don't have yet in order to figure out what you're going to do with this one aspect, and then that aspect may affect the choices that you're making about other aspects of the story. So it feels like this big mess where you have to know the answer to A in order to figure out the answer to B, but you have to know C in order to know A. And it's just a huge game of chicken or the egg, and you wind up running in mental circles, not able to even figure out a starting place. This is why finding your anchor is so important. What is necessary to this story? Figure out one thing you know that you can keep coming back to. When we're setting up a tent, we set up the poles first, and then everything else relies on that. You know, okay, I'm confident in this one piece, and I can build around it. Find your anchor. Find that piece that is necessary that you can build around. And that will give you a sense of confidence. When we're hiking, if we get off trail, we get lost, we're not sure where we are, the first thing is to go back to the last known point. I know I was on trail 5 minutes ago at this waypoint, so I'm gonna get back there and then figure out where I went wrong. And to me, this is the same thing. It gives you that sense of security to know that if I feel lost, I can go back to my anchor. And from there, I can choose a different direction. I can figure out the different ways that I can do this. Once we have that, we're in a good position. The final step is to design your North Star sentence. I love doing this, y'all. I always have that North Star, and I have it somewhere that I can see it the whole time that I'm writing, so that I can keep it in the forefront of my mind and I know what I'm writing toward. So what is a North Star sentence? Your North Star sentence is one simple sentence that holds the essence of your story. And you can do this in a few different ways. I'm about to give you some templates for it. You might have more than one North Star sentence as well, but generally there's one that you're really going to connect with and feel that embodies your story in a way that keeping it at the front of your mind can help you stay on track. And I want to emphasize that even though this process is simple, it's not short. It's easy for me to lay this out in a few minutes, but this may be happening over weeks or even months. Don't feel like you have to do this all at one time, especially when it comes to this North Star sentence. You really may not be able to rush it, and it could change as you further develop your ideas and your plan for your story. Here are a few example templates for your North Star sentence. Focusing on the plot, this story is about character trying to desire but obstacle. So if you've heard me talk about conflict, that's basically your conflict. Goal plus obstacle plus stakes. Here's one that's a little more character focused. This character believes something and it harms them by consequence. What belief does your character have that is holding them back or harming them in some way? This is the belief that they'll have to face and overcome throughout the course of the story. And in my experience as a book editor, this gets skipped. We start focusing on the plot and the events and forget to think about that character's arc and think about it more deeply than what do they want. Here we're trying to think about what do they believe? What is that belief at the core of them that is actually hurting them? And we all have these beliefs. Every one of us, and most of us are in denial about that. So 9 times out of 10, your character is going to start out in denial of this belief that's hurting them. And then throughout the story, they'll have to face it and then either overcome it or not. But if they don't overcome it, if they choose to maintain it, then there would be some consequences for that. This one is focused on plot. So if the protagonist doesn't overcome obstacle in order to goal, then consequences. So create this North Star sentence, create something that represents the spine of your story. And you're going to be so glad you have this during planning, during writing, and then during submitting. I do a lot of query critiques and query coaching, and one of the first things that we do is usually to write something like this. Because when I'm working on a query, I'm trying to figure out what is the core of this story, because the agent or the publisher is gonna wanna know that as well. And that has to come through. Honestly, I do this when I'm editing too, because when I'm working on a book, I usually wind up in the edit letter having something like this at the top. It both guides my edits, and I think it's helpful for the author to see whether what they intended to be the spine of the story really came through. With this system, you should feel calmer, more organized, and more confident. Starting with that brain dump, the divergent thinking, getting your ideas down, and then moving to sorting them into groups before you ever start analyzing and picking out that anchor that you're going to build your story around, and then using that to develop your North Star sentence that you are going to refer back to throughout the rest of your process. Writing, editing, and submitting. Or publishing. If you're self-publishing, you're going to need that as well, especially when it comes to writing your blurb, your copy, and marketing materials. Because if you don't know the core of your story, how are you supposed to convince anybody to read it? And if anytime you start feeling frustrated, you start feeling overwhelmed, step back and think about which cognitive mode you're using. Are you stretching toward the sky and letting the ideas flow through you? Are you stretched toward the ground and analyzing and evaluating? Or are you trying to do both at once? So often that is going to be the issue. Because listen to me here, you are not disorganized, you're not unfocused. Your brain is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. The chaos that you're feeling is your creative brain firing. And that's good. That's exactly what we want. You just need a framework to channel it, because we don't want you feeling frozen by your own creativity. Following this simple structure will help you get out of that feeling of overwhelm and chaos so you can get on to writing your book.